Hey folks, this is Kalani. We have our first round of class buffs and nerfs for patch 11.2, and there are a lot of buffs to look forward to. There have been multiple hotfixes which address broken systems, powerful delve monsters, and the world boss taking forever to die. We also have a new source of myth track gear that should help you gear up even faster in Season 3, and it could allow you to completely skip over the Mythic plus Keystone progression, and you can start the season with a plus 11 key. So that's going to be huge. And then the Delve faction race is already over, with some special rewards for the Alliance. There's a lot to talk about, so let's break it all down in this week's WoW News video. Now before we jump in, be sure to hit on that like button and subscribe so you never miss another video. Let's start by going over the huge class buffs and nerfs that were just announced that will go live with the next weekly reset just before Season 3 kicks off for real. Balanced Druids are getting some love with an 8% increase to all of their ability damage, so everything will be dealing a bit more damage next week. In addition to that, the Keeper of the Grove 4 set bonus was buffed in a few ways, but it will splash less damage onto nearby enemies. The Elun's Chosen 2 set bonus was nerfed in quite a few ways, the Starfire damage bonus was reduced, the chance to launch a Star Surge was reduced, and the effectiveness of those Star Surges was knocked down as well. The Elun's Chosen 4 set was also cut down to 40% effectiveness, down from 80%, so buffs for balance overall and to the Keeper of the Grove set bonuses, but nerfs for the Elun's Chosen set bonuses specifically. Restoration Druids made the list as well. There are a few bug fixes for Wildstalker's set bonuses which reduced their overall effectiveness, but to make up for those fixes, Symbiotic Bloom and Bursting Growth Healing were both increased by 15%, the Wildstalker 2 set was buffed up to 45% increased rate, and the 4 set bonus had its chance to trigger almost doubled, and the Bursting Growths will now be at 100% effectiveness, up from 80%. Brewmaster Monks are catching a couple of nerfs as well. The Shadowpan 2 set bonus damage increase was reduced to 10%, down from 20%. The 4 set Flurry Charge Generation was reduced to a 30% increase, down from a 50% increase, and then the damage dealt by Flurry Strikes from Wisdom of the Wall was reduced by 20% as well. Moving on to the Shamans, Enhancement has quite a few buffs to look forward to. Lava Lash will see a 15% damage buff, Wind Strike damage has been increased by 20%, Totemic Surging Bolt damage will see a 25% buff, and Searing Bolt damage will be increased by 35%. And then for Stormbringer, Awakening Storm damage has been increased by 35% too. So good news for the Enhancement Shamans. Warlocks have an interesting change. Threatening Presence now increases threat generation of your Voidwalker and Felguard by 950%, up from 400%, so I guess those pets were struggling to keep aggro in some cases. And then for Affliction, the old Season 2 set bonus chance to trigger was reduced by 30%. And then last but not least we come to the Warriors, and it's a quick change for protection. Mountain Thane's Ionizing Strikes damage has been reduced by 30%, so not really what you want to see, but I guess it could have been a lot worse. What's interesting about these class changes is that quite a lot of them target the new Season 3 set bonuses, so you shouldn't actually see much of a difference next week as we don't have access to those set bonuses just yet. I guess the dev team are trying to get ahead of the overperforming set bonuses to make sure we don't see any crazy spikes of damage from certain classes or specs. If your class wasn't included in this round of changes, it's not unheard of for the dev team to do some very last minute updates on the Monday before reset day, so we could see some sneaky buffs or nerfs make their way in just before the season starts on Tuesday. There have also been quite a few updates for PvP. Frost Death Knights will see a 15% nerf to Frost Strike in PvP combat, and Unholy will see a 20% nerf to Festering Wound damage. Feral Druids will see an 8% damage nerf for everything in PvP, so if you were hoping to dominate your battlegrounds as a sneaky Feral Druid, well, those plans might not go quite as well as you had previously hoped. Mages are seeing a lot of targeted nerfs too. Nether Flux now increases damage of your next targeted spell by 40%, down from 100%, so that's a pretty huge nerf right there. For Fire, Meteor direct damage was reduced by 40%, and then Frost is going to see a 10% nerf across the board, so definitely not ideal. Holy Paladins made the round of PvP nerfs this week too. They got a nasty 12% reduction for all of their healing. There's also a quick change to Divine Plea. The duration was increased to 30 seconds. For Shadow Priests, Void Volley damage has been reduced by 30%, for Assassination Rogue, Garrote damage has been cut down by 15%, and then Demonology Warlocks will see a 5% damage nerf across the board, so pretty much just nerfs for a lot of classes and specs in PvP. It's not just class balance tuning, there have also been quite a few nerfs hotfixed in for the new Delve Nemesis monsters. If you've been running some of the higher tiers of Delves this week, you may have run into some problems with the special ethereal packs, but you'll be glad to hear that Arcane Barrier is now interruptible and dispellable, so that's much easier to deal with besides just dumping damage into the monster. Arcane Barrier Shield is now 10% of health down from 15%, Sand Step dot damage was reduced by 65%, which is kind of insane. Mana Feast damage was also knocked down by 66%, so those Mana Ray looking creatures won't be as much of a pain next week, and then Arcane Lash damage was reduced by 15% as well. Most of these spells seem tied to the Ethereal Nemesis packs, so clearing through those should be much easier going forward, which is going to make a huge difference as we start to push up to tier 11 Bountiful Delves next week. There was also a hotfix that reduced the health and overall difficulty of the Reshanar world boss in Koresh. I saw quite a few complaints that the world boss was taking forever to die, and I'm sure the lag played a huge part in that equation, but the world boss did seem to die very slowly, so the reduced health should make the fight faster overall, and then the difficulty being reduced probably means abilities won't deal as much damage or they will be cast less often. I imagine as things start to calm down and the lag starts to get a bit better, we might actually be able to do the mechanics properly as well and be able to phase dive during those intermission moments where the boss takes no damage from the corporeal realm, so that should help out quite a bit too. So if you had a really hard time getting your world boss kills in this week, it should be much easier when you get around to killing him again next week. And then the last hotfix that I want to highlight is that the Revival Catalyst has been properly updated, so it will now convert any Season 2 gear that you still have for free. So it's probably worth swinging by the Catalyst and popping any Season 2 gear you have in to see if you can unlock any more transmogs relating to your Season 2 class gear sets. I had quite a lot that I hadn't unlocked, especially for the lower difficulty colours and variations, and don't forget your offset pieces as well. The Catalyst will convert almost any item that has a transmog tied to it, so make sure you get your boots, belts, and even bracers checked in the Catalyst as well. Now, in other news, the Tazavesh Mega Dungeon is going to be far more lucrative than we initially thought. You'll be able to get your hands on a guaranteed piece of item level 707 myth gear once per week from the Tazavesh Hardmode Mega Dungeon, but there's a catch. You need to complete the entire dungeon without anyone in your party dying, and it has to be your first run of the week. Everyone starts with a special buff, and as soon as one player in your group dies, everyone in the group will lose their buff, and you need everyone in your group to have that buff at the end of your run to trigger the extra rewards, so you can't just reset it and go again. You'll have one chance per week to get this shiny new loot, and it will require a flawless run from your entire party, so I would definitely recommend you only run this with a dedicated group, because I imagine the pug runs for this will only end in tears. Now, I have also heard that deaths in the dungeon before triggering the hard mode might still count, and your entire group could lose their buff for the week. This is particularly important because you are very briefly in the Mythic version of Tazavesh before you plug in a keystone to start a Mythic Plus run. You can also jump off the side at the beginning while you're getting ready, which instantly kills you. The problem here then is that if anyone decides to jump off the side while you're starting up a Mythic Plus Keystone run of Tazavesh, that could potentially nuke that group's chances for doing a deathless run for the week. So until we have confirmation that this is changed or addressed, I would not pug any Tazavesh Mythic Plus keys when the season starts if you are interested in trying the deathless run later on in the week. Pugging this dungeon in general kinda seems like a bad idea, even for Mythic Plus keys, so just keep that in mind as we head into Season 3. The good news is that the Mega Dungeon is very rewarding, even if you don't manage the no death run. Every boss will drop 1 of 6 hero gear, which is item level 694 in Season 3, so you'll have some crazy gearing opportunities just by clearing through the Mega Dungeon even if you die 100 times. Completing the Mega Dungeon will also count for a plus 10 keystone completion in the weekly vault, so you can earn the best rewards from the Great Vault without taking part in the Mythic Plus system, which could be great if you just hate timers but still want to do some difficult dungeon content. You'll also get some gilded crests for your time and effort, but perhaps the most interesting reward is that if you do not have a Mythic Plus keystone when you complete the Mega Dungeon, you will apparently be rewarded with a plus 11 keystone right off the bat. I've seen a lot of strategies revolving around clearing the Mega Dungeon before doing any Mythic Plus content and getting that plus 11 keystone to completely skip over the entire keystone upgrading process. Of course, you would have to actually complete the Mega Dungeon on those characters, and chances are if you do that as the very first thing in Season 3, you're probably not getting it done without someone dying in the group. So you can get a plus 11 keystone super early, but you might be sacrificing your chance at that shiny myth track gear in the first week. Unless, of course, you play some alts instead and use the plus 11 keys to get your group's mains higher keys later on, which I know a lot of competitive groups are definitely planning on doing, but I digress. It's nice to see difficult, rewarding small group content make its way back into the game, and it offers an alternative to just spamming Mythic Plus dungeons all day. The extra incentive for managing a flawless run also fills in a bit of a gap for the dungeoneers. Usually the only source of myth gear for dungeon-oriented players is from the weekly vault, which is just one piece of random gear per week. With the flawless Tazavesh run, you can now get 2 pieces of myth gear per week, so you'll be gearing up twice as fast. As long as you don't die anyway. What do you think of the Tazavesh Mega Dungeon coming back and offering a new way to earn myth track gear? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And then to round out this video, if you've popped by the Delve headquarters at all since the patch launched, you've probably noticed the little Horde vs Alliance race going on. Apparently the goal was to run 1 million delves across your region on your faction, and I guess you've all been delving your little hearts out because the race is already over. The Alliance won the delve race in both the North American and European regions. For their outstanding dedication to delve running, the Alliance flag will now fly in the Delve headquarters where the race information is being displayed. We're not too sure if that's going to be there for the rest of Season 3 or if we'll have a chance at a rematch sometime in the future, but for now the Alliance claims victory in the first Season 3 Delve race. If you complete a delve while your faction's bar is at 100%, you'll earn yourself the With Flying Colours achievement, which unlocks some faction-specific paint jobs for the Delver's dirigible mount. That goes for the Horde as well, so winning the race doesn't lock the other faction out of this reward, but you will have to wait until the Horde has 100% completion as well. But that's all of the updates we have so far, so that's it for this week's WoW News video. What do you think of patch 11.2 from what you've played so far? Are there any features or systems that you've been really enjoying, or maybe there are some that didn't live up to the hype? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to all of our members here on YouTube. You can see the names floating by on screen. If you're interested in supporting the channel, you can find links in the description or click the join button just below the video. If you enjoyed the video or found it useful in any way, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you're always kept up to date. Thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.